I like that. Tell us the time you fell off your boat.
Well, I didn't fall off.
Yeah.
The
I like
reality
that.
is
Let's cut right to the chase.
I didn't fall, but I damn near fell off.
Close enough.
Pretty damn close.
Yeah.
I imagine that had I gone over the side and watched my boat sail away at, 16 knots and probably in 54, 55 degree water, you might have had a 45-minute lifespan at that point.
Right. Yeah.
And
if that rope wasn't there?
if the rope wasn't there, I'm in the water.
Hello, and welcome to Boat Talk, where we talk about all the ings of boats, as in repowering, building, operating, and this week, falling and selecting. We are your hosts. Between us, we have 20 years working here at Seaboard Marine alongside Tony Athens. This is Corey Schmidt, the VP of Operations, and I'm Justin Riggy, the VP of Manufacturing. These days, we just get too many calls to field and emails and all that stuff to field everyone one at a time. So we thought we'd start this podcast and answer some of your questions and put this information out there for all to hear. So thanks for joining us. If you have an idea, we have a couple segments now. We have Between Two Sterns for funny stories. If you got an idea for a funny story for Between Two Sterns, email us at boattalk@sbmar.com. And we got a new segment today that we're going to do a little later called The Shaft Log.
Shaft log. It's a good one.
That was your wife's idea, by the way.
All right.
The shaft log, which harrowing tales from the water. So we got a guest later is going to share with us his harrowing tale. Mm-hmm. So anyways, we're going to start off here. We're going to do a little bit of part 3 of how we got to now. I thought we'd talk a little bit about the SMX brand and our own products and how that all came about. And as I understand it, I mean, Tony did a little bit of like kidding and sort of putting things together with some off-the-shelf bits and pieces like the EnviroVents and things like that. But it was really the SMX pump was the first flagship product.
I think the SMX 1730 pump was definitely the flagship, SMX product, and it was born out of what we like to do, which is take something that is, let's say, average or not so good and make it better. Yeah. Right. Find all of its flaws, find what makes it a pain in the butt or what makes it not work well and improve upon it. And that's exactly what the SMX pump did and still does today.
And we could probably do a whole episode just on SMX pumps. But so Tony, I think it was a pretty big leap for him because that was a big investment. It was in the early days before the parts business had grown to be kind of what it is. So it was kind of a big leap for him and took some courage.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Intestinal fortitude, as they say.
Right.
To make that, because, I mean, there's bronze castings involved. I mean, there's over 100 parts in that pump.
There's over 100 sub-assembly parts that make up that pump.
Yeah.
Very, very complex. And it's, all those pieces and parts got to come together just the right way to make that pump, reliable and solid and stand the test of time, which it has done. But you're right. It's a huge investment, both in intellectual property, both in financial, all those things.
Tooling, all that stuff.
100%.
But it wound up working out pretty well. So over the years, we've started adding more and more products. We make a lot of stuff in-house, like our transmission brackets, and we have a whole machine shop here just dedicated to that kind of stuff. But lately, as the parts business has grown, it's afforded us the opportunity to step up and make some more large-scale engine components, like aftercoolers.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff. There's aftercoolers, instrumentation. We have our own digital, lineup of SMX instruments. And again, all these products are born out of taking something that, Cummins sometimes provides, sometimes doesn't provide, and we improve upon it, make it better. Either we make it more reliable, more simple, easy to use, in an effort to add value to the customer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, a little overview of the SMX brand. So it just kind of grew organically. I mean, it started with that, just Tony seeing the opportunity to build a better pump. And then it was like, people like the SMX brand. They like all the stuff that Tony's putting out there. And so we just keep adding more and more to the lineup, and it's just kind of grown organically and just kind of one product at a time. So
I hope we keep going.
Yeah. If you see something out there that you're like, man, this could be better, let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll make an SMX version.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we're actually going to try something different this week. We have a few questions from email and from the forum. After our last airing of Boat Talk, Roland reached out to us, and he said he was listening to your first Boat Talk episode. Great content, he said. Here's something I think could save boat owners a lot of money, especially for people with the older mechanical engines. And I'm bringing this one up because when we talk with Jim, I don't know if that's going to happen before or after this, but we talked with Jim. We talked about the difference between the mechanical and electronic engines. And he just said, Roland says, so many people spend a lot of money diagnosing and trying to, figure out how to fix their engine smoking during a cold start. And as Jim points out, it's kind of just the nature of a mechanical engine. When you're not running them in suboptimal conditions, they don't burn fuel as clean because they don't have a computer and sensors and all that stuff to make that to make those compensations for the different running conditions. So he said he has a Yanmar 6LP and it smokes when cold, and the amount of smoke corresponds to the air and water temp. Once the engine reaches operating temp, the engine smoke is gone. So he's like, I read on the forum, people spend thousands of dollars hunting this problem, but it's just the nature of it. So, but Tony's approach, right, is to have the engine not be cold to begin with.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on engines, especially Cummins engines, that I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with, which is the on-engine preheater circuit, right? We've been dealing with that on mechanical engines since I've been doing this, and that is a circuit that also has somewhat of a brain on it, or an ECM, or whatever you want to call it, with a couple of relays and a grid heater that takes the air that's supposed to be cooled from the turbo and reheats it. As it goes back into the engine to prevent, smoky startups. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 there. But those systems can be inherently troublesome to deal with, especially on a mechanical engine. That's the most sophisticated part on the engine, right? It doesn't have a brain, but now you have a brain with all this thing. So what Tony likes to do, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard this from either him or what we post on the internet, is we don't really like that circuit. What we like is to put an oil pan heater on the bottom of the engine when you're sitting there at the dock. Keep the engine somewhere between 70 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit by the time you go and start up the engine in the morning to, lessen or prevent smoky startups.
Yeah. And even some guys, like I've seen Rob Shepis in the winter, he'll put I think I've seen him say that he'll put a space heater in the engine room.
Cabin heater,
yeah. A little cabin heater. So any way that you can warm, and that's a good way to test this out. If you're like, how much is this like little bit of extra warmth going to help alleviate my smoke issue? You just get a cabin heater, especially if you're on unmetered dock power. It doesn't cost you anything.
Get two.
Put a space heater or two down in there and try leaving that on, on like a low setting, like 500 watts or something, and just keep the engine warm during the winter. And then you go down and start up, and I bet you'll see way less startup smoke. And then it's a lot more efficient to put, a 250 watt oil pan heater on the bottom, and rather than try to heat up the whole engine room. But it is a little bit of work because you got to get down and sand off all the paint and get that thing on there. It's
difficult to install, but once you install it and you install it right, then it lasts a really long time.
And it makes a big difference. And that's Tony's solution to the cold start smoke is heat up that oil pan. It heats the whole engine from below to some degree. And then as soon as you start up, you may have a blip of smoke for a second, but that warm oil circulates throughout the whole engine.
A huge improvement.
Huge improvement. So thanks, Roland, for your question.
Yeah, don't go out and buy new injectors and a new turbo and all that stuff. Don't do that. Warm the engine up first.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Yeah, try a $30 space heater from Walmart. That might fix all your problems.
Try that first.
You know what? I do have one more quick question. This one comes from Gary Clifford. He's in Grenada and in the Caribbean. So he was asking about, he has a factory exhaust elbow. The Cummins, the it's usually white painted factory exhaust elbow. And he had a crack on the inner wall of the elbow. And he's like, well, can you send me an elbow so I can repair this? And the thing about those is they're not really easy to repair. And that's why we don't like the water jacketed exhaust. So if you look at our exhaust pages, we have lots of information up on the website about exhaust. We always go dry and we just inject the water right at the end on a downslope. But everything between the turbo and the mixer is all dry, and we use a regular insulation wrap to insulate it rather than trying to do a double wall, water jacketed thing.
Especially if you're going to go up and over. You don't want to fill that thing up with water and have it sit there, right?
Exactly. And not only does it protect it if you're going up and over, because if you're going up and over and that whole thing sits full of water, then eventually it's going to rust out on the inside where all the heat is, and it's going to drip water back into your turbo. We could probably do a whole episode or two on exhaust.
Probably.
But it's also like impossible to repair now because you have to build the whole exhaust. I've made double wall exhaust, and you have to build the whole exhaust twice. You have to do a dry, and then you have to strategically start. You start with the dry and you get a little bit ahead.
Form around it,
Yeah, you get a little bit ahead with the dry, and then you start with the wet. And so once you're done, you have this thing that you can't really maintain. I mean, if you're on a long cruise, you're down in the Caribbean or somewhere, you can't just go to a welder and be like, oh, put a little bead of weld on this crack and maybe it'll hold, because it's buried underneath. It's a nightmare.
We've seen all kinds of different approaches. I mean, especially when you're down in the Caribbean, there's not a whole lot of help down there. There's not a whole lot of repair facilities or whatever you want to call it. Some guys will take splash zone,
right,
and goop it on there. And there's all kinds of other different ways to try to get around it. But you're right. There's really no easy and effective way to where you're going to be able to, have some high degree of confidence that this thing's not going to slowly leak internally.
Right.
Back into the engine,
yeah.
Right? It's not a good idea.
Yeah, it's just another bad thing about that double wall exhaust. It seems like a good idea to have it water jacketed.
It'd be great if it was glass on the outside. You can see what's going on the inside.
Right, that's the thing. You're blind.
Can't see.
Right. So that's why we like to make our exhaust. Even our elbows, we make a factory replacement elbow, and we make that 90 dry. That way, right. If 10, 15 years down the road, you get a crack, you can just take it to a local welder and have them buzz a little weld, grind it out.
And water's never going to get back into your engine with that design.
Exactly.
That's really the heart of this whole thing, right?
Yep.
Keeping water out of the motor.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so we got a special guest here on Boat Talk. This is Jim Colamy. He's a local lobster fisherman, right?
Yeah.
And he's been a customer for how long have you been a customer? How long you known Tony?
25, 30 years.
Okay. So what kind of boats have you had over the years?
I started fishing over 50 years ago, the early abalone sea urchin business, and started with, a small little Wilson boat, gasoline engines. And then I built a second one in 77, I believe. And then in 80, I built a 30-foot Wilson with a Volvo diesel straight shaft, one of the first straight shaft Wilson boats.
Was that your first diesel?
That was my first diesel. And then in 84, I built the boat I have now, which is a 31 JC.
31 JC.
Yeah.
And is that the one that had the C in it?
Yeah, I've had 7 engines in that boat.
7 engines.
Yes.
Can you run through them all?
Yes, I can.
They're all named, right?
When I bought the hull, and I talked to JC Boats. My hull is number 257 out of the mold.
Okay, wow.
And I said, what is the most popular engine for that hull? And he said, 3208T. So that's what I did. And I built I built out the boat myself. I bought the hull and built it out and put a 3208T in it. And just from the get-go, I started to fish San Nicolas Island, which is a hellhole. And
in what way?
Well, it's just the weather's horrible. There's no anchorage.
It's a long way to get out
There's
there.
a long way. It's 60 miles, and you don't even know what you're getting into until you're halfway there. You're committed, and we didn't have the weather back then that we have now. So you didn't have the ability to forecast and be safe. And,
right.
And so I always felt that the heart of your operation is the engine, and as Tony talks about, engine age,
right?
From the minute you start it, things start to decay, and salt water does that. So my program was to just replace the engine every 5 years.
Okay.
And so I did that. Well, I had 4 3208Ts in that.
And would you sell the old engines?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to sell them before they're completely worn out? Yeah.
Exactly. And then after the 4th engine, I got my first Cummins.
Okay.
Tony helped me get that Cummins, and that was a C. And then I had that one for about 7 years, and then I think I put another C in.
So you went through 2 Cs?
2 Cs, and then I just put the electronic engine.
Okay.
About 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
You got the QSB 67 Slimline, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely the right engine for that boat.
Yeah.
lighter weight. Lobster boats, engine typically forward because you want every ounce of deck space. So you've pushed that weight of that engine to a part of the hull that's very sharp and not a lot of flotation. And so by switching to the slimline, I took 500 pounds out of the front of the boat. The whole boat trims better, it runs better.
So it's direct drive?
Direct drive.
Yeah. So that's one of the things thought we could talk about a little bit was because you have so much experience with it, comparing and contrasting the mechanical versus the electronic engines. Because we get a lot of customers, a lot of people on our forums, and people who call. They're like, "Oh, I don't like that new electronic crap," you know.
And they're scared of the motor, right? All the wires and you know the engine computer and the technology. It can be scary for guys like you that have been used to having mechanical engines for so long. You're like, I don't know if I want this thing in my boat.
I was there. I was, Sam Shrout had an electronic engine long before I would do it. And one day I'm in the boatyard with him, and he opened the oil fill cap, and there's wires going in there. I'm like, oh my God. He says there's enough wires to stretch from Ventura to Santa Barbara in this morning. And that scared me, you know. But
you're not the only one.
He had 20-something thousand hours on that when he took it out.
Yeah.
And so eventually you just start to trust it, and I do now.
Yeah. What are besides the fact that the 6.7's a little lighter and stuff, obviously the electronic engines run smoother because the computer and all the sensors and everything. What's the biggest advantage or the biggest thing that you noticed?
Well, first is no smoke. In my boat, I built a sort of a custom exhaust because not half the year, but part of the year I troll salmon. And when you're trolling salmon, you're standing on the transom of the boat all day long. And I used to have an exhaust that went over the side with my C, and I was getting gassed out every day. I mean,
gas mask.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. So I built this custom exhaust that kind of separates the water and the gas and allows the exhaust to go up above my head.
Is that one of those little lift muffler hump things that?
It's a variation. It's a custom variation of a lift muffler.
What was the Catherine has one of those.
He has a straight lift, that lift muffler.
Yeah, okay.
And I started with that. But again, that was going out the side, and because of the amount of time I spent on the transom, it was hurting.
Right.
And so I built a way to separate the water and still allow the gas to go up like a dry stack, but it's cool. The heat is taken out.
It's still wet exhaust.
Yeah. And so anyway, when I went to the electronic motor, well, there's no smoke at all. And so then when my old crewman, who has a boat exactly like mine, we repowered his. We didn't bother making that exhaust change because there's no smoke.
Right.
So that's a huge benefit. And then in trolling, the fuel consumption is just nothing.
Yeah.
And that was really evident because the year that I repowered and we went trolling, and John and I had always run together and we always fueled together, and it was a remarkable difference. He'd put in 100 gallons, I'd put in 80, doing the exact same thing because so many hours of the day are trolling, and the engine just burns nothing at troll. Right. So.
Yeah, and that's the mechanical engines are set up to burn, in an optimal range of conditions and optimal load and percentage, RPM range kind of. It's more of a narrow band though, because they don't have the computer, because they don't have all the sensors, they can't compensate for all the different running conditions. So yeah, if you cruise at a steady state and at 1,500 to 2,000 RPM, you might be okay with a mechanical engine. But if you do different things, if you have operate in different temperatures or if you troll or anything like that, you cruise slow and then go fast, that's where the mechanical engine really excels. The electronic engine really excels at compensating for all those different.
Yeah. Having a computer on the engine is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's compensating for those different scenarios.
So were there any things, any of your fears? Have you had any electronic issues? Have you had any sensors go bad or?
Yeah, this is
There's
tough.
Wood here to knock
because,
on.
Yeah, knock on wood.
That's why it's here.
I have had zero problems.
Oh, wow.
Zero.
Okay.
I mean, that I just go down, I turn the key, I go to work, I come home, turn it off. It has been remarkable for, I guess I'm in my 4th year of that engine now.
Yeah.
So
the main thing I see, there are some common little things like fuel actuators, right? And like common rail pressure sensors But they're not; those aren't super expensive parts, and the computer tells you what to change, and it's
Yeah, and there's really no sort of systemic issues that, I mean,
Right.
and if there are, that's what we do. We put that information out there, right? You see something that happens. If it happens 10 times in a row, you're like, hey, everybody, just so you know, you're going to see this. This is what happens. This is why it happens. Here's how you fix it, right? But I would agree with you. For the most part, most of those components are pretty reliable. You do have a lot of instrumentation systems that have a lot more wires than we generally like, which can, make things more complex and prone to trouble. But if you have a simple system and you manage the engine well, then the electronic engine is going to take care of you.
I think one of the best parts too is having real-time fuel burn data for propping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You get a lot more data from an electronic engine. The mechanical engines, you get like oil pressure.
You get 4 things.
Yeah,
Right.
oil pressure,
coolant temp, RPM, and that's it.
Right.
Right. Good luck out there.
Right.
And you can find it if you're loaded differently too, and you're running because of the data available. You can back off 100 RPM. You're going to lose maybe a knot, but you're saving 2 gallons an hour.
And you can see it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I guarantee you,
Yeah.
fishermen out there,
Yeah.
that's how they operate the boat.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
2 gallons an hour for just a little bit of trade-off
Right.
or something is a huge difference.
Right,
And that's where you're going to find out where your magic speed is.
Right.
Where you got to run it. It's a business. That's your livelihood. Right?
But then again, there's times when you only have a day.
Right.
And
You
if
gotta
I
get
want
out
to get there and get my job done and get home, and I've only got this short weather window, I can
It's worth
throttle
it.
up and go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care what I burn. So
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah. So, I thought you'd be good to talk to about the mechanical versus electronic because you have so much real world experience. We talk to a lot of guys and
Yeah.
we're pretty familiar with the engines, but you're out there running it every day. So,
Man, we get those questions all the time, right? Where guys are like, well, I have an old Detroit or I have an old mechanical engine and I'm thinking about going new, but I'm a little hesitant and, what's involved and what's most people's experience with it, right? So it's good.
one thing I always tell people is, why don't you drive an old 57 Chevy to work? You drive a modern electronic engine to work every day because they're so much smoother and better and more efficient. It'd be crazy to drive an old carbureted car around, right?
Yeah, unless you're crazy.
It's simpler,
Yeah.
sure, but you're burning fuel and leaving that smell of unburnt fuel in your wake, like your old.
Some people like, but yeah, you're right. Every truck on the highway, I mean, how many trucks are there compared to boats out there? I mean, it could be 1,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1, who knows what it is. But every one of those trucks has an engine like yours that has a computer on it and a brain and a bunch of wires.
Right.
And they see all kinds of horrible stuff just like you would in the boat.
Right.
Salt and road conditions and all that stuff.
Yep.
So
Cool. All right. Well, then we have a new segment here that we're calling.
segment.
Yeah, we have a new segment here at Boat Talk. We're calling the Shaft Log, Harrowing Tales from the Water. So Jim happens to be an individual who's had a scary close call, and so I thought he'd be a perfect guest for our first Shaft Log, our first installment of Shaft Log. So why don't you tell us your story about what happened to you out there?
let's see, 11 years ago, I believe, we had been trolling salmon. In salmon, you just go where the fish are. So as the fish go north, you go north. And once I get above Half Moon Bay into Bodega or Fort Bragg, we just kind of don't come home because it's too far to come. And so we've been trolling since May 1st. So it'd been almost 3 months. And the last probably 3 to 4 weeks had been on the boat and the season was over. It was time to come home. And you want to come home by then. You just feel like, okay, I've caught my fish. So I was steaming down from Bodega Bay towards Santa Cruz and going just inside the Farallon Islands. And my boat cruising about 16 knots on autopilot. It's a very nice day.
And you're all alone.
No,
right?
always alone. Yeah, always alone.
Yeah.
And maybe smart, maybe not. But it had been like I said, nice trip, nice day, nice weather, a low swell, no wind, and the boat was just kind of yawing back and forth, and that particular season, oddly enough, a friend of mine, Nick Voss, convinced me that I should tie a rope from my hay rack to my cabin just because you'd spend a lot of time walking back and forth. And I thought, I don't
Like a
need
safety-
that.
like a-
like a safety
Yeah,
line.
like
And
a
I
railing.
don't think I need that, but what the heck, a piece of rope. So I tied a piece of rope that year. And so as I'm on autopilot, kind of got my feet up on the dash, reading a book and watching the, freighters or whatever. I went over to starboard and kept going. And the seat that I had made, custom made, because everything's custom made,
Okay.
the seat had been butt welded, 2 pieces of stainless and not sleeved, which it is now. And as I went, I broke the seat and kept going. And I ended up leaning against the rope for a second, and then the boat yawed back, and I was back in the boat and thought, well, that was close. So I imagine that had I gone over the side and watched my boat sail away at, 16 knots and probably in 54, 55 degree water, you might have had a 45-minute lifespan of that.
Right. Yeah.
And
if that rope wasn't there,
if the rope wasn't there, I'm in the water.
that's kind of crazy how that.
And so since then, the only change I've made is I bought a device that will shut the engine off if it gets wet.
Yeah.
And I wear it every
What's
day.
it called?
Oh, what is that
Remember?
called?
It's basically a remote engine kill
Yes.
switch.
It's something you wear on you.
It's basically, it's about that big, and I just put it in my pocket. And
do you test it every so often?
and I sell these for the guy because whenever your wife comes down to your boat, I said, hey, watch this. And I'll lick my lips and touch the 2 electrodes and the engine goes off. Every wife goes, you got to get one.
Yeah.
And it's what I wear. I tried wearing a vest for a while. I didn't like it.
Right.
I had a personal EPIRB. I don't use it. I just don't like it.
Right.
This thing I like. It's small enough.
Yeah. And I was probably within a couple of years that we had somebody go missing out there and they never found him, right?
Well, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the pitfalls of operating the boat by yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pitfalls.
Yeah. You're right.
Is things like that can have. There's other things that can happen. I mean, I know there's so many stories we've heard in our industry just because we deal with guys like you that are out there every day. And you hear a lot of stories, and some guys come back and some guys don't. But when you have something like that, that's just an extra layer of protection.
It gives you a chance.
Gives you a chance.
It gives you a chance. You could, in theory, if you went over the side and the boat stopped and the wind wasn't blowing too hard, you could swim for it.
You'd be okay.
I put in a couple little steps on the back so I could actually get back in the boat because at my age, you don't just flop over the side.
Of it.
Yeah. Used to be a day I could just jump over the side. That's not happening anymore. So yeah, a couple little hand holes and a step and that thing. And
Just goes to show you though, you never know how it could happen because you're just sitting at the helm on the chair.
Absolutely.
And we'll put the picture up, probably put it up when he was talking earlier, but also you see it literally looked like the chair just tried to dump him right overboard. I mean, it just broke right towards the rail and just,
And in that picture, you can see that little green rope. It's a small little rope, but it saved me.
Yeah.
And now I have a full Schedule 80 aluminum bar that goes across it. But
super heavy duty.
yeah, it's pretty heavy duty. And
all right. Well, thanks, Jim. Thanks for coming and
Thank you very
being
much.
a guest here today on Boat Talk.
Thanks
and,
for having me.
telling us your story. And hopefully you guys out there know to get that safety device. We'll put a
link to it.
Yeah,
or
we'll put a
picture
link or
something on it.
at least what it is in the
Hopefully
description.
you get a commission.
But,
okay, thanks, guys.
all right. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again for Jim coming on. It was great to have him.
Yep.
No, Tony's known him forever. We've known him for a long time.
He's got so much experience. I mean, you're talking 30, 40 years experience of boating and dealing with the engines and just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. He went through 7 engines.
7 engines.
That's pretty impressive.
And we deal with a lot of guys like that locally to us, right? Not just guys that are around the country, but guys here that we've been dealing with for 20, 30 years, especially Tony's been dealing with.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are like that. They have between 4 and sometimes 10 engines through the lineage of the boat, and they're still going strong.
Yep. Yeah, he's still out there doing it.
Yep.
And that's pretty crazy. When you see the picture, I'm sure we've showed it already, and we'll maybe show it again. But that, I mean,
the chair.
Yeah, it may seem you're like, oh well, he almost fell off it, but you can picture yourself out there on the water all by yourself, and your chair just tries to dump you right over the side.
Thank God you can laugh about it now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
At the time, it's super serious.
Yeah. So great story. Thanks, Jim. And all right. Well, thanks for watching Boat Talk. If you have any ideas for segments, we have the Between Two Sterns and the Shaft Log, funny stories or harrowing stories from the water. Shoot us an email at boattalk@sbmar.com. That's BOATTALK@sbmar.com.
And the email is set up and ready. We're getting emails
Yeah,
already.
we're getting
It's good.
emails. We already got
just in time.
a bunch of emails from some of these came from our
Send more.
last episode. So, thanks for watching. And We'll be back with a new episode.
We'll be back. We're heading to Florida,
Yeah.
right?
So
Not sure if I'm going to come back. Tony and I are going to be out in the boat.
Yeah.
The area of Florida that we go to is between, on average, 2 and 4 foot in depth. And so we strike the bottom quite often. So I might be walking home from Florida.
right. Or you could get eaten by a manatee.
Oh, a manatee. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.